Alrighty guys, welcome back to Star Wars Review. Today I am going to be reviewing the story mode of Star Wars Squadrons, new video game from EA and Motive Studios, which came out on October 2nd, so a little bit over a week ago. And it was from game director Ian S. Fraser. It was written by Joan Barry, Mitchell Dreyer, Walt Williams, and Kathleen Rutzart. Probably butchering some names there. I'm terrible with names. The story I thought was alright. It wasn't anything, like Jedi Fallen Order or any other bigger, Star Wars, story games. But that was what I was expecting. It was Squadrons is definitely more of a multiplayer title. Like, 2017's Battlefront 2, which I liked the Squadron story definitely a lot more than Battlefront 2. Also, probably helps that I was more into the gameplay of Squadrons and Battlefront 2. I'm just not a big fan of dice shooters, but although Battlefront 2 story is a lot more, I don't know, bigger, I guess. Kinda. in scale, and the Squadron's longer. Squadron's thinking about maybe 7 hours, 8 hours, somewhere around that. I really don't fully pay attention, but Battlefront 2 could be like 4 hours, but on the scale of the actual story, and obviously definitely the characters, there's more character development I guess in Battlefront 2. I guess one of the main reasons is because in Battlefront 2, you play as Iden Versio, who actually is a set character, but in Squadrons you play as a Titan 3 and Vanguard 5, who are custom characters. You create them, and there really isn't much dialogue with your character to the other characters, which really, that's probably my biggest gripe with the game is your character. Even though it is nice to create your own character and whatnot, but inside the story, your character then doesn't even really speak to the other characters very much. It just, it kind of takes an element out of the story, but so I definitely enjoyed most of the characters more than Battlefront 2's characters, though. But so I guess I'll keep this spoiler free enough for a little bit. And just I'm just talking about spoiler free stuff, and I'll jump into my deep thoughts in the story and characters and whatnot. But first, I guess a few things. One concern, like I said earlier, was length. And, like I said, it's about probably anywhere between 6 to 8 hours. Obviously, depending on what difficulty you're playing on, how good you are at the game, and all of that. So, a decent length. I enjoy it when games are, like in the range of like 7 to 10, 12 hours. I can beat it faster. And, when games are like, 30 plus hours, I kind of just like, takes forever to beat them. But, obviously, length of games, Jedi Fallen Order was definitely one where I felt like it's, a decent length. So, yeah, but anyways, also, if we're saying if the story was just gonna be a glorified tutorial, and the missions do, teach you how to fly the ships and whatnot, and how to do some maneuvers and whatnot. But obviously a lot of that's in the first half of the game. The second half isn't really as much of a tutorial, but yeah, I wouldn't say the story is a glorified tutorial. There's definitely a story, and a story is told, I guess. Even though it's not like a crazy large, galaxy-wide, consequence story, I guess. Kinda. I don't want to drop spoilers, but yeah. And the characters are all right. Like I said earlier, I enjoyed them more than Battlefront 2's characters, but Battlefront 2 I wasn't as much into it, but and also just the characters, like I said earlier, with your character not really speaking to them, that kind of takes an element out of really connecting to the characters more, because your character isn't interacting with them on that kind of level. But yeah, and I'll get into this more later. Squad mates really, don't have like crazy story arcs going on. But the ones, the most amount of depth, I guess, are Teresa Carroll and Lyndon James, who, Carroll is the Titan Squadron Imperial commander. Lyndon James is the Vanguard New Republic commander. They give you missions and whatnot to do. I mean, they definitely had the biggest, story arc, I guess, because of their history and whatnot, which I don't want to drop spoilers right now, so I'll get into that more in a moment, but yeah, like I said, the story, it's enjoyable, although it's nothing really super crazy. Guess also, the game is $40, so, obviously cheaper than most games, but if you're going to spend the $40 just for the story, I'd really say that depends. If, if you really want to play the game and, experience the story, then yeah, I'd say go for it. But if it's something you're like kind of interested in, but don't care as much, and I'd say wait for it to drop in price. But definitely if you're gonna play story and the multiplayer and whatnot, 40 is a fine price. And yeah, I haven't really played much of the multiplayer yet. In fact, I haven't even played a match with actual real players, so I can't really say too much there, but the story, it's an enjoyable experience. Definitely if you can get into the gameplay, because, I feel like that's probably another reason why I enjoyed it more, because I had fun with the game, play and whatnot, so yeah, that's it for spoilers. If we went on a lot longer there. I was expecting that maybe a few minutes, and I went on for 10 minutes so far, so yeah, enjoyable game. But anyways, jumping in more in depth into the story and all of that. So the story starts off as a prologue mission. You play as your Imperial and New Republic pilot. I believe that mission set shortly after the destruction of Alderaan. As an Imperial, you're set out to track down and kill some surviving Alderaanians with Teresa Carroll and Lyndon James. But during that mission, James betrays you and defects to the rebellion, and then cuts to the rebel pilot where you help James out and during that mission. But then the rest of the story takes place sometime after the Battle of Endor, but before the Battle of Jakku, where your old pilot gets reassigned to a Vanguard squadron, I guess now New Republic pilot, you're on a mission to protect the New Republic's Starhawk project, or Project Starhawk, which was first introduced in the, I believe it was the second novel in the Aftermath trilogy, Life Debt, Aftermath, Life Debt. So yeah, and then your Imperial pilot gets reassigned to Titan Squadron, with Commander being Teresa Carroll, and whatnot. And your mission is you hunt down Javes and stop Project Starhawk. That's pretty much the gist of it. You go on missions to either do all of that. Obviously, always, it's not all just about attacking the Starhawk. It's build up to it, and then the final few missions is either you defending the Starhawk or attacking the Starhawk, which I really liked the last few missions, and they're definitely my favorite part of the game. Enjoyed all that part. It was kind of interesting seeing the Starhawk, the ship, is in like I said, the Aftermath books, and in the last one at the Battle of Jakku, and because anything, the New Republic is gonna actually get out of it more okay, but they actually don't, and Imperials actually are successful in this story, and in destroying the Starhawk. So I actually enjoyed that, seeing kind of surprised because you think the New Republic's gonna get out of it, with a win, I guess. But yeah, just those final missions, I enjoyed it all coming together and all the battles and whatnot there. So yeah, but then obviously the ending was alright. The Imperial ending was kind of a bit sudden. There's, they kind of just tease something with Titan Squadron going into the unknown regions. But that's because at the end of each mission, there's, show you some medals you get, for how well you did the mission, doing side objectives and whatnot. And there's a little description, and it says, I believe it's Ray Sloan sends Titan Squadron to the unknown regions, which is interesting, but wish there was the Imperial ending gave a little more, but it was fine. Not really too big of a deal. And the New Republic ending happened second, which that mission was cool. It's the New Republic has to destroy the Starhawk, to try to get rid of some of the Imperials and whatnot, and then the final cutscene, whatnot. So yeah, really, not really too many big gripes with the story. It's not a crazy story, nothing really incredible about it, but nothing really bad about it. It was, like I said, enjoyable. But yeah, the characters, like I said, the two biggest ones, Teresa Carroll and Lyndon Javes, the commanders of Titan and Vanguard Squadron, definitely, had most, I guess, depth, you could say, as characters, and because, had the most prominent character arc, I guess. Even, it's still not like a crazy one, but with the beginning in the prologue, Javes being, Carol's mentor, and then Javes betraying Carol by, defecting, and, I really liked, that, Carol wanting to go after Javes and whatnot. Near the end, they kind of, in the final missions, they talk over the comms and whatnot as enemies, I guess. I wish there was a little bit more to that. At relationship, I guess. But I definitely enjoyed them. Those two are probably my favorite characters of the game, and yeah, mainly because of that. And the squad mates and Titan and Vanguard Squadron, 4 in each, so 8 in total. Which they were alright, nothing really super crazy, didn't really have any character arc or that much. Definitely on a surface level with characters, I like them, but yeah, I definitely like the New Republic pilots more than the Imperial pilots. I also kind of just like, Rebellion, New Republic, good guy stories more than, Imperial, bad guy stories, I guess. So, that's probably why, but, also, like, in the story, just seeing the difference between, the pilots of the New Republic and the pilots of the Empire and whatnot. Obviously, there's other stories what shows us too. It's not anything crazy new, but shows it all in one, story, and it's a nice contrast between the two factions. I definitely enjoyed that, and definitely shows in your squad mates that kind of element. Yeah, like I said earlier, I probably would like the squad mates more if your character would actually fully interact with them. In between missions, you can go up to them and quote unquote, talk to them, but it's mainly just them talking to you, or two of them talking to each other. So your character just never talks to them, which I feel like if that was an element in the game, then would add more. So yeah, and there was several returning characters and kind of supporting slash cameo roles, I guess. Legentelli's in the game, he returns only for one mission though. But Dennis Lawson actually returned to a voice Wedge in the game, which was nice. Even though he was only in one mission, which obviously wasn't a big part of the game, so yeah, it's cool to see him. And then Harrison Dola also returns in a bigger role, but still not a main role. In fact, she only appears once in the flesh. Actually, your character actually interacting with her face to face, I guess, in the final mission. So yeah, but there's other missions where she's just, talking over the comms and whatnot. But she doesn't have a lot of I guess quote unquote screen time. But in the story, she's the leader of the Project Starhawk, and just for a short time in the game commands the Starhawk. So on the Imperial side, Ray Sloan returns into the game, which she was originally in the novel New Dawn, and then appeared later in the Aftermath novels, and I believe has appeared in a few other stories, but this is the first time she's actually made, a I don't know what the word would be, appearance in non reading format. I don't know. I'm trying to think. I was gonna say live action, but this is a video game, and that it's not live action. So yeah, that's definitely cool. Even though it's very briefly, most of the time it's just over hologram. Talking to Teresa Carroll, but she gives Carroll the mission to hunt down Javes and Project Starhawk. So yeah, there's several other characters too, but more minor roles and whatnot. But yeah, the story I thought was alright. Not a super grand scale story, but that's okay. So had a good time with it. Also the gameplay was fun, which definitely adds to me enjoying the story. Because if I didn't like the gameplay, then you know probably wouldn't have had as good of a time. But yeah, it's a fun, enjoyable story, but nothing really to go wild about. I guess go crazy about. So yeah, but, and also the gameplay. I will say, being a flight sim, this is the first time I played a flight sim, which I played on the PlayStation 4, I should say, controller and whatnot, which I did whatever. You can watch my gameplay of it. You can see how I wasn't the greatest at it, but yeah, it's definitely a hard game to learn, I guess, and to play. But I did all right. First time playing a more flight sim game, but yeah, I'm kind of rambling on now. I'll just give my score for the story mode, which I'm gonna give it a B. So yeah, but yeah, you could check out my playthrough of the story mode of Star Wars Squadrons. By the time this video goes up, I probably have maybe 4 or 5 parts. I don't know, around there. Which I do mission per part, so it'll be 15 parts in total. Which the rest of the parts will be coming out in the coming weeks, and also some multiplayer gameplay too I've done, so you can check that out too. But for now, I've been Star Wars V, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.
Will be ours.